So welcome everyone to session 1 of MKTG 612 Brand Management. My name is Dr. Sheena Lovia Boateng, and I'll be your lecturer for this course. Now, this is the first session, and being our first session, we would like to look into some opening perspectives on brands and brand management, which will serve as a stepping stone to help us have a good foundation in order to discuss the subsequent topics that we will be covering in this particular course. So with these opening perspectives on brands and brand management, there are specific learning outcomes that we hope to achieve by the end of the session. The first one includes to be able to define a brand and to state how a brand differs from a product. The second one is to be able to summarize why brands are important, or why we should even care about brands in the first place. And then the third one is to be able to explain how branding applies to virtually everything. Because branding is very relevant to almost everything we can talk about when it comes to marketing. So we will look at how branding applies to virtually everything. And then finally, we will be able to describe the main branding challenges and opportunities that exist. Because branding being a concept, in practice, brand managers face a lot of challenges and at the same time opportunities based on certain contextual and environmental factors. So we need to appreciate some of these challenges and opportunities to be able to understand how best to manage brands given these challenges and opportunities, and how they can hinder or enhance our activities as brand managers. So these are the 4 learning outcomes we hope to achieve by the end of the session. And with that, let's begin by asking ourselves the cardinal question: what is a brand? Now, the word brand means different things to different people at different times, meaning that depending on the context in which you are talking to a particular person or a particular firm, when you mention the word brand, it means a different thing to that particular person or individual. So for instance, Leila too. Are you there? Leila tomorrow. Leila tomorrow. Leila, if you don't respond, I will deem it as you being absent from class. Leila tomorrow, are you there? She's not here. Okay. Alima Tuseidu, are you there?
Yes, Doc, please, I'm here.
Good. So when I say brand, in your own mind or in your own understanding, what do you think a brand is?
I think a brand should be a unique identity of a firm.
So a unique identity of a firm.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
so that is Halimatu's perspective of what a brand is. Clancy, what is a brand to you?
I think it's, for me, it's more than the product. It's basically the ideas or emotions or stuff that come to mind when this particular product is mentioned.
Good. That's Clancy's perspective as well. Lawrence, when I say brand, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it means the perceptions that people have when a brand is mentioned, the perceptions that people have about a brand.
Good. That's Lawrence's perspective. And very soon in our discussion and throughout this course, you will come to realize that in more ways, Clancy, Alimatu, and Lawrence are all right. And they are all referring to different aspects of a brand, which all come together to holistically constitute what we refer to as the brand management process. Isaac Areko, go ahead. Isaac. Isaac, if you are speaking, we cannot hear you. Okay, Nuruddin, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, madam. A brand can be a name. And it can also be a symbol, a sign that represent a product.
Okay.
And so you can take an example like Nike. When you see the sign, or even Adidas, when you see that 3 strips, without even seeing Adidas being written,
Yeah.
you know what you can identify with. So it can be a symbol. It can also be a name that represents a product.
Okay, so you are giving us the textbook definition, Nuruddin. You're giving us aspects of the textbook definition of what a brand is. Yeah. I remember when I asked, I said in your own understanding. You remember I said that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted your own understanding, not textbook definition, Nuruddin. But good attempt.
Yes.
Manaf, go ahead.
Okay.
Madam,
Yes, Manaf.
can you also say it is anything that can be used to identify a product?
Yeah, a brand is an identifier as well.
Okay.
So that's from your perspective, right? So like I said, all the perspectives you are providing together are all different aspects of what constitutes a brand. Because a brand is all the things that you are saying put together and more. I hope you understand me.
Yes, please.
Good. And you can see that based on the perspectives that were presented, everyone was coming from a different angle. Did you realize that?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes.
So that is why I was saying that brands mean different things to different people at different times. And that is because brands are all about emotions, as well as some degree of cognitive involvement, both of which are complicated. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
Exactly, because there's no way you can actually properly decipher a consumer's emotions. Likewise, you cannot, with any degree of complete accuracy, decipher what is going on cognitively in the mind of a consumer. So the best that we can do as marketers and brand managers is to try to put in place measures to influence these perceptions, including those cognitive perceptions as well as those emotions that customers feel about our products and by extension, our brands. So based on that, there are 2 main perspectives that we can consider when we are talking about properly defining a brand. And the first perspective would be the practitioner perspective, which we will denote with brand having a capital B. And the second perspective will be the academic perspective, which we will denote with brand having a small b. So moving forward, if we see brand with a big B, it means we are talking about the practitioner perspective. And if we see brand with a small b, we are talking about the academic perspective. So from the practitioner perspective, we are looking at the definition of a brand as has been provided by Interbrand. Now, Interbrand is one of the foremost global branding companies. They are a division of Omnicom, right, which is an American company. And they are a brand consultancy that specializes in areas such as brand strategy, brand analytics, brand valuation, digital brand management, among other things that have to do with specific firm brands. And they are also responsible for producing one of the foremost brand valuation reports in the marketing industry. So we are going to use their definition of a brand to represent the practitioner perspective of what a brand is. And according to Interbrand, a brand is the sum of all expressions by which an entity, and this entity here could be a person, an organization or company, a business unit, a city, a nation, you name it, the sum of all expression by which these entities we have talked about intend to be recognized. So based on their definition, they are saying that whichever way any of these entities decide they want to be recognized becomes their brand, isn't it?
Yes, Doc.
So once they become recognized in a particular way, I remember one of you mentioned these as being your understanding of a brand. That particular recognition or that particular identity becomes what they are known for. And I remember one of you mentioned that the brand is the identity of a company, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, Doc.
Good. So that is the practitioner perspective of what a brand is according to Interbrand. Now, from the academic perspective, we are taking the definition of the American Marketing Association, which is another foremost body in the field of marketing. And according to them, a brand is a name, a term, a sign, a symbol, a design, or a combination of any of these that are intended to identify the goods and services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competition. So you can see there's an underlying concept here. It's about identity, isn't it?
Yes.
Good. So the choice of specific elements to be able to create a unique identity for the goods and services of a particular seller or group of sellers for the purposes of differentiation, which will often lead to some form of competitive advantage when it comes to firms that are operating in specific sectors and industries. So technically, whenever a marketer comes up with a new design, or a new sign, or a new symbol, or a new name or term for a new product, they have actually created a new brand. Do you agree?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes, please.
Right? So that is the academic perspective. Therefore, with that understanding, we are saying that the key to creating a brand, and a good brand for that matter, according to the Academy of Marketing, according to the American Marketing Association, and their academic perspective, as well as the practitioner perspective provided by Interbrand, is to be able to choose components that will help identify you as an organization and the products and services that you sell, and differentiate them from those of your competition. So usually, when we talk about this form of identification and differentiation, we realize that firms use a multitude of components, including a particular name, or a particular logo, or symbol, or package design, among others, which are uniquely crafted for their purposes only, which is to identify their products and services and differentiate it from their competition. And these elements that we are talking about, which are designed specifically for these organizations to help differentiate and identify them, are referred to as brand elements. And you realize that firms are not short of imagination and options when it comes to the selection of these elements, such that a lot of them choose components that are based on myriad things, including people, places, things, and abstract images, among others. Right? Leilatu, you said, can color be used to identify a brand? Yes, color can be used to identify a brand as well. However, you know color is universal. So it cannot be used on its own. So you realize that in the definition given by the American Marketing Association, they said that it is either this, that, including name, term, sign, symbol, design, or a combination. Did you get that? A combination. Because the more complex and unique the choice of brand elements is, the more differentiated the brand is from their competition. Does that make sense?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Good.
Doc.
So if you say red, I can mention a number of firms that use the color red as part of their brand identity. Can we mention some of them very quickly?
Vodafone.
Vodafone, another one.
Airtel.
KFC.
Airtel, APSA, go, keep mentioning. So many. KFC has red, Papaya has red, Societe Generale has red. Let's keep going. Who else has red?
Total Ghana.
Total Ghana has red, right? So you realize that, like I mentioned a few moments ago, the choice of a single element may not necessarily be a strong enough identifier or differentiator. The competitiveness of the brand lies in their ability to combine all these individual elements we are talking about, including color, terms, symbols, signs, to be able to come up with a unique identifier that will set them apart from their competition and make them different. So yes, Leila, color can be used, but on its own, it is not a strong enough element to represent a whole brand. Right? Yes, CBG. Access Bank also has some elements of red, true. So you realize that color alone, like we have just established, is not enough. You need a combination of elements. You're welcome, Leila. So now that we have understood the concept of brand elements, let's do a bit of brand element trivia. I'm going to present you with some elements, and I want to see if you can decipher which brand it represents. Now, if I show the element and you think you know the answer, kindly raise your hand and I'll give you the opportunity to tell us what it is, and then we'll find out if you are right or wrong. So this is the first brand element. Which organization does it belong to? If you know the answer, please raise your hand. Which organization or company does this brand element belong to? Ekuya, your hand went up.
Yeah, Doc, I want to try.
Please go ahead.
It looks like Southern Fried Chicken.
Close, but not it.
Okay.
Good attempt, Ekuya. Leila too.
Thank you.
Leila too.
Madam,
go ahead. What?
Bacillus.
Yes, Barcelos. It's Barcelos. Right? So if you are Southern Fried Chicken also has a chicken, but this is not what their chicken looks like.
Yes.
Good. So you see what I talked about in terms of the choice of elements. There has to be some degree of uniqueness to clearly distinguish your brand from the other brands that are in the same category and are perhaps using similar elements to what you have. So well done, Leila too. It's Barcelos. They are Cramo, so you can try their chicken sometime if you go to the mall. Good. Let's try another one. Epia.
It's Tasty Thompson tomato paste.
Yes, it's Tasty Thompson tomato paste. Right? So I intentionally did this because I didn't know which part of the element to bring that would be tricky for you people. Because technically it is a very common brand element, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
please.
I didn't know which parts to bring and which parts to not bring. So initially, I remember, let me show you what I did. So initially, I took part of it off. Oh, sorry, I'm not seeing the screen. A moment. So initially I put this there, but it would have still been very easy for you, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
see it. Tasty Tom is too popular, right? And you know one of the owners is a student in our department.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's a PhD student.
Wow.
I'll introduce her to you sometime.
Please do.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
you.
You're welcome. Right, so Tasty Tom it is. So let's do one more and then we can continue. So which one is this?
Chevrolet.
The men's hands went up first. Lawrence.
Ikea has cheated.
Ikea has cheated.
Ikea has cheated. She didn't raise her hand.
She didn't raise her hand.
-5.
She's so familiar with the brand that just came out of her mouth like that. I won't be surprised if she owns one or she knows someone who owns one.
Dog, please, I don't own one.
Yeah, but it's a Chevy, right? So this is how powerful brand elements can be. Such that as a company, if you want to be clearly distinguishable from your competitors, you need brand elements that will resonate with your audience. And as we have proven, some elements resonate very clearly with audience members because of the nature of the elements that have been chosen and the kind of brand management programs that have been built around them. So as soon as audience members see the brand element, they know which brand it is, right? I would have put more, but we don't have time to do, but we'll be doing more of these throughout the sessions. Like I said, the brand management course is very exciting. So these trivia and quizzes will be coming up very often in our sessions. I remember in our previous class, we did a brand recall and recognition experiment in class. By this time, we don't have face-to-face, so we can't do that experiment. So we will use another means. I'll think of a way, right? So that you do not miss out on that experience as well. So essentially, we have been able to prove that brand elements indeed act as differentiators and help us to identify specific organizations and their products and services. So with that understanding, let's differentiate between brands and products. Now here, all we are saying basically is that brands and products are not the same. And there are a number of reasons why. 6 of them has been presented here, and we will go through them one after the other. Starting from the first reason being that consumers make brands, but companies make products. Why are we saying this? We are saying this because companies would usually manufacture products and give them specific brand elements to identify them and differentiate them. However, the ability of that product and its name and symbol and sign and whatever combination of elements have been used to identify it to become a brand depends entirely on the ability of the firm to sell the idea of the product and its brand to consumers, such that consumers will build relevant positive perceptions about that particular product in their minds, creating a certain image for the company and their products and the group of elements that are used to identify them and distinguish them from that of their competitors. And that is why we say consumers make brands, however, companies make products. I hope you understand that.
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Good. Again, we say that brands have dimensions that differentiates them in some way from other products that are designed to satisfy the same need. However, with products, it is anything that can be offered to a market for attention, acquisition, use, or consumption that might satisfy a need or want. So you realize that for products, if we are looking at the product level, we can place so many products from different brands in the same category, and they will all fit. True or false?
True, Doc.
Good, because it's about need satisfaction. It's about acquisition. So if, for instance, we were talking about rice as a product, any brand of rice will do, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it meant to satisfy hunger. So regardless of what name is put on it or what symbol is on the bag of rice, the content is rice, and that is what we are concerned about at the product level. However, at the brand level, that is where we come to the dimensions that differentiate the different kinds of rice from each other. So someone will go to the market to buy jasmine rice. But at the branding level, there are various dimensions that we can use to differentiate. And the most basic dimension we usually use is the name, isn't it?
Yes, Doc.
So in terms of jasmine rice, what are some of the options we have on the Ghanaian market? Where are the cooks and the part-time caterers?
Doc, we have Gino rice as well.
Gino rice, Which
Lele,
other one?
Lele rice.
Lele rice, another one.
Sunbed.
Sunbed, another one.
Cindy rice.
Cindy rice.
Sultana, Cindy, Fortune,
Millicent.
Millicent, Royal Aroma.
Red
Good,
Eagle.
good. Right?
Edna.
Good. These are all dimensions of differentiation. And for those who eat rice a lot, they can tell you the differences between them. For instance, if I'm ranking all the rice that you have mentioned here, Lele rice will be at the bottom of the list for me. Because as a brand, based on what I have tasted, in comparison to other brands, Lele rice does not compare to brands like Royal Feast or Fortune rice. Is there anyone here who wants to debate?
Doc, me.
If you go ahead.
I beg to differ because with what I've also tasted, I think Fortune Lele is better than Fortune in my opinion.
Okay.
Because when I cook Fortune, it doesn't really come out, 1-1 the way I normally like my rice to come out.
Yeah. But
So I
Royal
think
Feast
that
will always come out 1-1.
yes, Royal Feast would, but
Yeah.
for me, I don't think Fortune should be higher than Lily.
Okay. That's fair. To be fair, I haven't consumed Fortune that much, right?
Okay.
I think I bought Fortune only once when I was going to buy Royal Feast and I didn't get it.
Okay.
And I thought it was good for that purpose that I
Okay.
used it for. But I've been consuming Royal Feast and Lele a lot. The Lele, I usually get it as a gift.
Okay.
People like gifting Lele rice a lot.
But it's expensive too, relatively.
Is it more expensive than Royal Feast?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Lele rice. Are you serious?
Yes.
Yes.
It's even expensive than Fortune.
I haven't even noticed. Maybe because I always buy it in addition to other things.
I think when you take Gino out, Lele is next in the prices.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Yes, I'll always pick Royal Feast over Lele rice. So you see, expensive is not always better.
Yes.
So that's a typical example of branding. So you can see even with this one, we have been able to again confirm that brands mean different things to different people at different times, isn't it?
Yes, Doc.
Yes. Okay, so on to the differentiators between brands and products. We can also say that brands are unique and they cannot be easily copied. Unlike products that can be easily copied and replaced. And I think this one is not even debatable. It's a fact, isn't it?
Doc,
Yes. Alimatu.
but of late you can see some brands that other people would like do a duplicate of it. If you don't watch well, they might beat you.
True.
So that is criminal.
Better molds.
That's criminal.
Abibas.
Even Gino Rice.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
if you
criminal.
don't, you will get home. Yes.
They take the sacks and then they put different rice in it.
Yes.
People have
You
fallen
cook it and
victim.
it's not getting ready then.
Exactly, you're very right.
Some even
Yes.
twist the name. Maybe where there's a U, they make it A, and then it will
Good.
sound the same.
Good. Oh, that is criminal. Yes, because they are leveraging someone's hard-earned brand name to dupe people. Good. So that is where we have the famous phrase in marketing called caveat emptor. You've heard of caveat emptor before?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Buyer beware.
Good. Right. So this is where we can invoke caveat emptor. So you as a buyer are responsible for your own welfare. So you have to make sure that whatever you are paying for is exactly what you are getting. But like Alimatu said, sometimes it's very hard to differentiate and make sure that you're not being cheated.
Doc.
Yes,
Do we
Alimatu.
have patency for brand?
Do we have what?
Patency, like can you patent a brand?
All brands are patented, Alimatu.
Oh, okay.
So if you develop a brand and you don't patent it, then you are not serious.
Okay. Thank you.
Because it is your unique identity. So it's your property. And you have to patent it. That is why these days, a lot of the designer brands are able to go to companies like Instagram and say, take down all these pages that are selling fake versions of our products. Recently in Ghana, there was an Instagram sweep. All those Instagram sellers who were selling knockoffs of the Bottega Veneta bags and the Louis Vuitton bag, all of them had their pages taken down. Did you notice?
Look, I agree with you. I know a friend who was a victim to that.
Yeah. And that is because they have patented and copyrighted their brands. So they have legal rights to demand that all these fake resellers are taken down. They should even be happy that they were not prosecuted. Right? So yes, your brand is your property and you can copyright it and you can patent it. That's why celebrities will give birth, they'll name their children and then they'll go and copyright and trademark their children's names. So that in future, if the child grows up and wants to start a designer line with their name, nobody will steal it.
Wow.
Yes. So Beyonce did that with her daughter, Blue Ivy. So her daughter's name is currently trademarked. When Black China thought she was going to get married to Robert Kardashian, she wanted to go and trademark the name Angela Kardashian. But Robert Kardashian's mother blocked it. And ultimately, the marriage didn't happen. So the family name was saved from being exploited by somebody who ended up not becoming a family member. So you can also give birth to your child in Ghana here and go and trademark their name and say that this particular name is trademarked. We own it. But these processes do not come cheap, by the way. There's a lot of legality involved. And you know, legal services do not come for cheap. So that is it on the issue of uniqueness. And trademarking and copywriting and patenting are all ways of guaranteeing the uniqueness of specific brand elements or other forms of intellectual property that are owned by an individual or a firm. Again, in terms of the differentiators, we can talk about the fact that brands become meaningful over time, whereas products are instantly meaningful. And why do we say this? when a new product comes out, we usually judge it based on what need it can satisfy, don't we?
Yes, please.
Good. So at that point in time, the product is only meaningful as far as it helps us to solve a particular problem, or it gives us a particular benefit, or satisfies a particular need that we have. However, with brands, they become meaningful over time in the sense that the longer we experience a particular product and its brand, and how the brand is able to maintain its value over time and contribute to societal welfare, among others, we are able to identify with that brand on that basis over a period of time. So you realize that over time, consumers develop a connection with specific brands that goes beyond even the individual products and services that they offer. Do you agree? Do you agree to that?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes,
so I have people who have fallen in love with the brand Mercedes-Benz, but they have never driven one. They have never owned one. They don't even have a family member who owns one. But when you hear them talk about the brand, it's almost like they live, eat, breathe that particular brand. Clancy, you're laughing. It's a serious matter. The way some people can defend certain brands and speak for the brand, you would think that they had actually had personal experiences with the brand. And most of the time, it's not the case. Right? So that is why we say brands become meaningful over time, whereas products are just instantly meaningful because at that point in time, they are satisfying a particular need or providing a certain benefit. And following from that, because they are instantly meaningful and satisfy a particular need, they can easily become obsolete. Because if at this point in time, I get the product to satisfy that need, once the need is satisfied, I have no longer any motivation to go for that product. True or false?
True.
Good. But if it's a brand that is meaningful to me, it is timeless, such that if I have used the brand, I would want other people around me to also experience the brand and what it means to me. So you will find parents who have used specific brands of certain products, introducing these same brands to their children and their grandchildren. So you go to a household and the mother and the daughter and the grandmother all cook the same way, using the same ingredients from the same brands. So from the grandmother to the mother to the daughter, they all prefer salsa tomato paste. They will not buy Gino, they will not buy Tasty Tom. It's salsa all the way. Who knows salsa tomato paste?
I do.
Okay, I do.
It's one of the OG tomato pastes in town. Again, you will find parents who have used specific brands of cars buying the same brand for their children. So the parents drive Toyota cars. So when they are buying their child their first car, they'll buy them a Toyota. Because in their minds, the Toyota is dependable and will last long. So that is why we talk about the timelessness of brands, because they transcend generations, unlike products, which can easily become obsolete. And finally, we can also talk about the fact that products perform a function. Like we said, they usually exist to satisfy a particular need. So they are used for that particular function for which they are designed. Naomi, go ahead, your hand is up.
Doc, please, with the timeless, I am a little confused. An example I would like to use for this is, let's say, Ideal Milk. It's a product from Nestle Ghana.
Yes.
And I don't know whether it's actually a brand or it's a product, because it's also timeless. Since I've known Ideal Milk, really
so when it comes to branding, you're jumping the gun a little bit, but I will I will do that. I will explain that to you. When it comes to branding, there are specific branding strategies that firms can use. Now, what you are talking about is a branding strategy that we refer to as a house of brands. Now, Nestle is a house of brands such that there is a mother corporation which has several brands under the corporation's main brand. So you realize that when we talk about Nestle, we have Milo, which is a brand that stands on its own, isn't it, Naomi?
Yes, please.
Good. We have Cerelac, which also stands on its own, isn't it?
Yes, please.
We have Nan, which also stands on its own, isn't it?
Yes, please.
And then your famous Ideal, isn't it?
They even have Carnation.
You have Carnation, good. So Nestle operates what we refer to as a house of brands concept, where they have individual brands that can stand alone under the corporation's main brand. And Unilever also operates a similar concept. So you realize that Unilever also has a lot of brands under the Unilever Corporation brand. Isn't it, Naomi?
Yes, please.
Good. So it's the same Unilever that has Sunlight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bar soap and powder.
Yeah, and Omo.
And then they have Omo, also powdered soap.
Yeah.
Good. So that is the house of brands concept. Now we have what we refer to as a branded house concept, where every single brand that comes from that corporation bears the same name with a slight addition. So a typical example of such a branded house concept is Yaz. We have Yaz toothpaste, Yaz kitchen towel, Yaz toothbrush, Yaz sanitary, everything is Yaz.
Mada.
Mada, thank you, Alima too. Everything is Mada. So that's the branded house concept. Everything bears the same name. Then we have the hybrid approach, where you see organizations have a mix. They have some products that operate under the branded house concept, like BMW. You know, BMW has the BMW series.
Yes.
Good. And then, you know, they also own the coupe, the mini coupe line.
Yeah.
Then they also own Rolls-Royce.
Yes.
Good. So they are running a hybrid brand strategy where they have the branded house operating with some line of products and the house of brands operating with another line. Naomi, do you understand?
Yes, please.
Good. Now there's a whole lecture that covers this. Right? So much later on, we will try and look into that.
Okay, Doc.
Yeah. We were not going to cover it because of your presentations. But at this point, it seems you guys want to know more about it. So we will have to cover it. We'll have to find a way to cover it. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, we'll try and sort it somewhere because that is another very interesting discussion, which helps us to dissect why brands choose a particular approach or strategy and the benefits that they get from choosing either strategy. Right. So Naomi, I think at the base level, you understand it now.
Yes, Doc, I do.
Great. Good. So previously, we were on the final differentiator between brands and products. And what we were saying was that where products perform a function, brands offer a promise and an emotion, which contributes largely to why they are timeless and meaningful over time. Because once a brand is able to make a promise and a consumer who is the target of that particular promise comes to believe that promise, they carry that promise with them throughout their lives and come to expect that level of delivery from the brand in question. So like I said, if a mother and a father being parents come to believe in the promise of Toyota as a car brand to be dependable, they will carry that dependability through. And then whenever they consider buying a new car for themselves or buying a car for their child, the first brand that they would consider will be what?
Toyota.
Yeah, because they have come to believe and trust in the promise of dependability from the Toyota brand, and they would want to pass it on to their children. So these are the main differentiators between brands and products. Okay. So moving on from differentiating between brands and products, now that we appreciate what a brand is, the differentiators between brands and products, right? We also have to understand why brands matter. Otherwise, all these concepts we are talking about, being brands from the practitioner and academic perspective, brand elements, and why brands differ from products, will be unnecessary unless we can prove that brands matter when it comes to marketing activity. So we will first look at why brands matter to consumers. And there are several reasons. The first one is that they help to identify the source or maker of a product. And as we have been able to prove in this class, we were able to use specific brand elements to identify particular makers or owners of certain products. Isn't it?
Yes, Doc.
Good.
Yes.
Proving that brands indeed are identifiers. Again, they simplify product decisions because, like I said, brands are able to offer some kind of promise. So if you are choosing between two brands and one brand offers a promise that is more appealing to you than the other, it will be easier for you to choose the brand that offers you the appealing promise, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Good. Thereby simplifying your product decision on which of them to purchase. Again, it reduces the search cost for products. Because like we said, once again, brands offer a promise and an emotion. So when you are looking for a product to satisfy a particular need in a certain category, your search costs are reduced because you can go specifically in search of identifiable brands in that category that offer a certain quality of product that you know can satisfy your need. So you will not spend time sifting through various options before you find what you are looking for. Hence, we are saying it lowers the search cost for products. Again, it helps consumers to set reasonable expectations about what consumers may or may not know about the brand. Because, for instance, if you are choosing a particular brand, based on what you know about the brand and what has been communicated regarding the brand, you are able to set for yourself a certain standard of performance that you expect from that brand, isn't it?
Yes, Doc.
Good. So if I go to the shop right now and I go and buy Royal Feast, given that I have consumed Royal Feast before and I know the brand and I know the performance of their rice, I know what to expect after I cook the rice. However, if I go and I don't get Royal Feast and I just see some rice that has been tied in some olonka rubber and I buy it, I will not have so high expectations of that rice in the olonka rubber. True or false?
True.
Good. Because of the bag, it doesn't even have a brand. For me to be able to decipher what that brand is about and what the brand is promising me, to be able to set my expectations. So at that point, I do not have any expectations at all. Anything that comes out, I will accept to a large extent. Hence, we are saying brands help to set reasonable expectations about what consumers may or may not know about the brand or the specific product that we are purchasing. Again, brands can reduce risks in product decisions because, like I mentioned a moment ago, if I buy Royal Feast, I know I'm not running a risk because I have consumed Royal Feast before. I know the quality of the rice and I know what to expect once I have cooked it. But if I'm buying this olonka rubber rice, I'm expecting a high level of risk, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Because I haven't consumed it before. I don't know what it tastes like. I don't even know the source of it because there's no brand. Hence, brands can reduce your risk when it comes to product decisions, right? So be that as it may, we've talked about the reduction of risk. And therefore, it is important for us to understand some of the perceived risks that could come up with customers when it comes to the use of brands in influencing their purchase decisions. The first one is functional risk, where the customer risks having a product that does not perform up to expectations. And like I said, the Royal Feast Olonka rice is a perfect example. With the Olonka rubber rice, I run the risk of the rice not being able to perform up to expectations. But with Royal Feast, my functional risk is reduced because I know that the rice will perform at a certain standard. Again, physical risk. Some products may pose a threat to the physical well-being or health of the user. And when the product has a brand, it helps you to be able to assess your physical risk to some extent. So still using the Royal Feast Olonka rubber rice example, which of them presents more of a physical risk to me?
The Olonka rubber.
The Olonka rubber, because hey, there's no brand. How do I know that they're offering me something that is not harmful to my physical well-being? There's no way I can tell, right? Again, using the same example, I run a significant financial risk in the event that the product is not worth the price that I paid for it. So if I pay a high price for this Olonka rice and I come and cook it, and like one of your colleagues said, the rice is not cooking. I have run a very significant financial risk leading to financial loss, right? Again, we can also talk about social risk. I mean, I don't know how a queer will feel when she sees me buying rice in an Olonka rubber. It will lead to significant embarrassment. Because her first question will be, dog, can't you afford to buy something better? Why Olonka rubber rice, right? So my social risk is high with the Olonka rice. Again, there's significant psychological risk involved, right? Because some products can affect your mental well-being. Who has ever bought a product and come home and they have not been able to sleep before? You regret making that purchase so much that it turns into sleepless nights and so much thinking. Has it happened to anyone before?
Yes.
Yes, dog.
You spend money on something and you regret it so much. And you start thinking about all the other things you could have used the money for. Then it becomes a headache for you. That significant psychological risk is affecting your mental well-being at this point. Right, Clancy, you have a personal experience, eh?
No, dog. I was actually talking about the social risk.
Yeah. You've also gone through that before, eh?
Oh, I haven't. I think when we were in undergrad, one of the lecturers shared his experience.
Oh, okay.
He went to canteen.
Yes.
A student met him and was like, "Prof, you two, you also come here."
Oh, that's significant social risk. Huge embarrassment.
He stopped going after that.
Right? So it seems you've experienced these things in various ways. And finally, we can talk about time risk, right? And this is the failure of the product that may result in some kind of opportunity cost or waste of your precious time. Because imagine if this Olonka rice is not cooking and I'm sitting there waiting for it to cook. Whereas that time could have been used for something else that was more important. And I could have saved that time if I had just gone elsewhere or put in a bit more effort to actually make sure I find and buy Royal Feast. True or false?
Very true.
Exactly. Right? So these are the various forms of risks that customers perceive. And brands in that regard help to reduce significantly these risks that customers face when it comes to their product decisions. On the other hand, Apart from customers, brands also matter to firms in the sense that they simplify product handling and tracing. Imagine we are talking about a firm like Nestle that has all these various brands. Imagine they were using a branded house concept and all the different products we have talked about and can never imagine that they sell had one name. It would be difficult to handle and trace each of them, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Good.
Yes.
However, with the house of brands concept, every time we mention a particular brand, it stands out, which helps to simplify its handling and tracing. Again, it will also help to organize inventory and accounting records because each brand is uniquely identifiable. And it will also offer the firm legal protection for unique features or aspects of the products. Like I said, recently, the luxury brands who have legally registered their brands and trademarked them went after all those sellers on Instagram who were selling knockoffs of their products. And they had legal backing to do so. So that's a typical example of this legal protection that we are talking about. Again, brands help provide predictability and security of demand for the firm and creates barriers of entry for competitors. Predictability and security of demand such that you know that customers will always buy your brand when they see it, even if it is placed next to other competing brands, because you have sold them a particular brand promise that they have come to expect and will therefore always go in for it. Again, once your brand becomes synonymous with a particular category, and that is where brands have done extremely well in building their brands and promoting it such that customers have come to love it so much, they equate it to the particular category in which that brand is sold. It becomes difficult for other competitors to enter. So let's take specific products in different categories that have become synonymous with their products category. In terms of beverages, Isaac. Coke. Every soft drink is Coke, eh?
Yes, please.
Good. Again, beverages. Any other beverage?
Dog, Milo.
Malt.
Milo.
Bonvita.
Milo.
Milo. Compared to Bonvita, Milo is more synonymous with the product category. Every chocolate drink is Milo.
Yes.
Milo, me very choco.
Richoco has not gotten there yet. It's coming small.
No, Doc, I said someone will get to a shop and be like, I'm buying Milo. I want Richoco.
Yeah, good. Exactly. Right? Because it's not Milo that they are buying Richoco, but because Milo is synonymous with the category, that's the first thing they'll mention. So good example there. Clancy, go ahead. Oh, Clancy, you've lowered your hand.
Yes, Doc. I lowered my hand. I realized you were talking about beverages and non-liquid. So.
Oh, you can go ahead. Go ahead with your example. We are doing all categories.
Voltic, actually.
Pardon?
We need to mention Voltic.
Yes, Voltic. Every mineral water is Voltic.
Or Pampers, as in diapers.
Or Pampers. Every diaper is Pampers. Thank you.
Powder, Omo.
Yes, every washing powder is Omo. Yes, Nuruddin. Every toothpaste is Pepsodent.
Maggie.
Yes, every seasoning cube is Maggie.
Indomie.
Every noodle is Indomie. So you get the idea, right? So in that case, it is a significant barrier because even when you enter the industry as a competitor, like one of our colleagues rightly mentioned, the person is buying Milo but Richoco. So it becomes a significant barrier, which works in the favor of that brand that is leading in that particular sector. And that way, they are able to have a powerful means to secure their competitive advantage. So that in a nutshell are why brands matter, not just for customers, but also for firms. So that being said, can anything be branded? I'm putting the question to the class. Do you believe anything can be branded?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes, Doc.
Yes. And rightly so. The answer is yes. Because as long as you can be able to convince the consumer given that brands reside in the mind of consumers, whatever it is that you're trying to brand, you have to just do a good job of convincing the consumer that it is the best product in that particular category to satisfy the need that they have. In that case, let's look at some examples of, like we said, anything that can be branded. We can talk about physical goods, like food. Cheesy pizza is a food, isn't it?
Yes,
We can
please.
brand
Yes, please.
clothing, equipment, shoes, bags, furniture, you name it. These are all physical goods that we can brand. We can also talk about services. We have banking services, educational services, hairstyling services, hair cutting services. Currently, when we talk about haircuts, what is the first branded haircut service that comes to your mind?
Silver haircut.
Silver haircuts. The owner was actually my EMBA student. He finished last semester.
Oh, nice.
Right, so silver haircuts. And they have done an excellent job of branding themselves as the premium haircut service provider. So silver hair, very good. Again, we can brand online products and services. Currently, Amazon is the largest landlord on the internet, providing all manner of online services from servers to networking to security to storage to remote computing, you name it, Amazon Web Services provides it. And their clientele includes some of the most powerful and largest governmental organizations, including the CIA. Again, still on everything that can be branded, we can talk about retailers and distributors. And for that one, there are so many of them around, isn't it? Banana, Mr. Price, Junction Mall, West Hills Mall, Accra Mall. All of these are branded. Even our neighborhood kiosks and container sellers have brands, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Yes. We can also talk about people and organizations, right? The Nanama McBrowns, the Shatawales, the Stone Boys, you name it. All of them have their individual brands. Organizations also brand themselves, including University of Ghana and the University of Ghana Business School. We can also brand sports, arts, and entertainment. The Ghana Premier League is a brand. VGMA is a brand. One being a sports brand and the other being an arts and entertainment brand, right? We can also brand geographic locations as well as ideas and causes. Currently, the most recent geographic location that has done an excellent job of branding themselves is the Seychelles Islands. In April, they launched their website that has a lot of interactive content and is very excellently branded. But before Seychelles Islands, there were also other very well branded geographic locations like Malaysia. Who knows the song that goes with this brand? It was very common. Everybody knew it. Does anyone know the song? No one knows the song.
No, please. I don't know.
Hey! So this is how it goes. Wait, let me see. The song was Malaysia truly Asia. Who has heard it before? Have you heard it before?
No, dog.
Wow. I think you should ask your parents. They are very young. Malaysia truly Asia was the first very popularly well-branded destination that everyone was talking about. Even before Dubai became Dubai. Again, like we said, ideas and causes can be branded. So October has now been branded as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Good. And then Most of you don't know this, but February is Heart Health Awareness Month. Did you know that?
No.
Okay. And why February? Because February is the month of love, isn't it?
Yes, Val's Day.
And love has to do with what?
The heart.
The heart. Good. So February is Heart Health Awareness. So you see how causes can be branded. So no one will ever forget Heart Health Awareness because it relates to love and the heart, and it's celebrated in the month of love. Okay. So now that we have appreciated various things that can be branded, including concepts and causes and ideas and geographic locations, let's talk about strong brands. When we say a brand is strong, it means that the brand has been a market leader in their category for decades. And based on that, remember when I talked about Interbrand, I talked about the fact that they were one of the foremost institutions who produce reports on strong brands globally. Remember I mentioned that?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes.
Now their report is called The Best Global Brands by Interbrand, and they produce it every year. Currently, the most recent edition is the 2020 edition. However, there's another company too known as Brands with a Z, who also produce an annual report on the best global brands. They call theirs the 100 most valuable global brands. And then we have one that is done for Ghana. However, this is the most recent edition of it. It's called Ghana's Super Brands. And this edition is very, very old. They have not been able to do a new one yet, right? So all of these rankings help to be able to distinguish and delineate the strong brands that are around us, for us to appreciate their performance and how they were able to build their brands to this level where they are now referred to as strong brands. So I have the most recent edition of the Brands with a Z, that is, report on the most valuable global brands. And that's the 2021 edition. And for this one, they partnered with Kantar to produce it. So I'm going to share the PDF of the report right now, and then we can quickly look at it. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, please.
Good.
Yes, Doc.
Good. So this is the report, right? And it presents a lot of information. As you can see, it says Kantar Brands 2021 most valuable global brands. And it presents a lot of information in it, including how they came by the assessment, how they performed the analysis to be able to arrive at the most valuable brands. And then they break it down into categories as well, so that you can be able to understand which category is which and who is the market leader in what category. So you can see that in this particular category, in this particular report, the category focus covers various categories, including apparel, which is clothing, right? Apparel, luxury, alcohol, fast food, personal care, among others, right? And all these are presented in the report. So let's scroll through the report quickly. And then see what is going on there. Okay. All right. So this is the front page. This is the table of contents. And then this is the first page that shows the top 100 most valuable global brands. You can see they've been listed from 1 to 100. Can you see that?
Yes, please.
So I'm sure if you check, you will see a few of your favorites, with Amazon being number 1. Pampers is at number 5. Interesting. Then Xiaomi is number 70. Who owns a Xiaomi phone? No one owns a Xiaomi in this class.
No, Doc.
Oh, okay. Then Zoom is number 52. TikTok is number 45. McDonald's is number 9. Netflix is number 24. So you can see that a lot of the popular brands that we know are in the top 100 most valuable global brands, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Good. And you can see here, they show the value of each of the top 10 brands, starting from Amazon all the way down to MasterCard. Right? And these are in the millions. So Amazon is worth over 600 million US dollars. And you can see the values have been listed all the way down in the top 10. Then they also have the newcomers to the top 100 lists. So all the companies you see here are newcomers who have now joined the list, including Zoom and Spotify and Snapchat. Is that okay?
Yes, no.
Good. Right? So the report is very detailed, and I am going to upload it into Sakai so that you can be able to take your time and peruse it, because it provides a lot of information, including the data points, the number of brands they considered, and this is the formula they use to calculate the value of each brand. Can you see that?
Yes, please.
So they take the financial value of the brand in dollars and they multiply it by the contribution of the brand in percentages. And they tell you how each of them is operationalized. For instance, the financial value here refers to the proportion of the total value of the parent company in dollars that can be attributed to the brand in question, considering both current and future performance. And then the brand contribution is the proportion of financial value generated by the brand's ability to increase purchase volume and charge premium. And that is how they arrive at the brand value. So like I said, the report presents other important pieces of information regarding the most valuable brands around the world. And when you peruse the document, you will find valuable nuggets of information that you can be able to use in your discussions moving forward, as well as in some assignments that you will be given, provided they are relevant. So I hope everyone is on Sakai. When I checked Sakai yesterday, only few of you were enrolled. So please make sure you are enrolled on Sakai, because I'm going to start populating the course sites with material. Is that okay?
Yes,
yes,
Yes, Doc.
Yes, no.
So that is for the 2021 most valuable global brands. Now, what are the marketing advantages of strong brands? Among several advantages, we can talk about the fact that they ensure greater loyalty, they are less vulnerable to competitive marketing actions, they are less vulnerable to marketing crisis, which is very important. So you realize that despite the COVID situation, these brands have still managed to earn significantly huge amounts of income. You realize that, right?
yes, Doc.
Good. Whereas other firms in this era of COVID are going down, these firms are still maintaining their strong lead because they are valuable when it comes to their branding, right? So there are other advantages here that you can peruse in your free time once you gain access to the slides. So moving on, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that branding presents? Because we've heard a lot of beautiful stories about branding and all the good things that it does for not just customers, but firms as well. However, these things come with significant challenges and opportunities. The first one we can talk about is unparalleled access to information and new technologies. This is a double-edged sword, such that it creates opportunities for firms to be able to utilize these new technologies to enhance their brands and make their brands more valuable. These new technologies also provide means for brands to be able to create unique brand experiences for customers, thereby becoming more meaningful to customers over time. However, the unparalleled access to information presents significant challenges to brands, because now customers can go online and gain all manner of information about brands, which can influence their purchase decision. on whether or not to use a particular brand. So that becomes a significant threat, such that brands have to make sure that at any point in time, they have put in place measures to ensure that the information available about the brand out there is not one that will be detrimental to their progress and success in terms of communicating with customers and influencing their purchase decisions, given that customers have unparalleled access to all this information. Again, there's a downward pressure on prices. Downward pressure on prices is a challenge to branding because we talked about the difference between brands and products, didn't we?
Yes,
Yes, we did.
Yes, please.
Good. And identifiable as brands are, they all have at their core certain products that can be easily replicated based on the differences between brands and products that we talked about. So if you have a brand that is not necessarily differentiatable from other products in the same category, you will not be able to charge a premium price for it. Do you agree?
Yes, Doc.
Good. So a typical example is the Lily and Royal Feast example that we were given. Based on our experiences, we have been able to confirm that Royal Feast is in some ways better than Lily Rice, even though Lily Rice is more expensive. So this in some way may put a downward pressure on the price of Lily Rice. Would you agree?
Yes, please.
Because if word spreads that Royal Feast is even better than Lily, and Lily is more expensive, and consumers start shifting towards the consumption of Royal Feast, Lily will have no choice than to reduce their prices in order to sell more. Hence that downward pressure on price that we are talking about. And remember, with the unparalleled access to information, consumers can actually go online and get this information we are talking about from independent users online who have independently posted their reviews of various products and brands in different categories. You agree?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Right? So this can again place a downward pressure on prices. This same understanding can be spread to the ubiquitous connectivity and consumer backlash. These days, we have a lot of review sites and platforms online where consumers can go and find out any information regarding the performance of different products and brands. So consumer backlash can influence a brand negatively in the sense that if a brand fails to meet the promises that it makes to consumers, consumers have a faster and easier means of spreading this bad word about the brand. Using online platforms such as, can you provide some examples?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
Social media.
Social media, including Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram.
Which often leads to what we refer to as cancel culture.
Twitter.
Twitter. Right? So this is a significant challenge to branding as well. And these same mediums we are talking about also facilitates a lot of sharing of information and goods, which again are a double-edged sword for brands, being that it can be an opportunity for them to share unique and significant information about themselves to position themselves in the mind of the consumer. Likewise, the same information sharing mediums can be used by consumers to share all manner of information about brands. Again, there could be unexpected sources of competition, given that the availability of information makes all the uniqueness of brands available to their competitors, such that at any point in time, an unexpected competitor could come up that is offering something similar to what the brand offers, sometimes even better. Would you agree?
Yes, please.
Good. In that case, can you give any example of a brand that was performing very well, but out of nowhere, a competing brand came and now they have lost their leader status in their particular sector? Any example?
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. BlackBerry was the champion for a long time. Everybody wanted a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Then out of nowhere, They were just kicked off their high horse. And in came which phone?
No, Nokia too.
Nokia too, the same thing. Nokia reigned for so many years and out of nowhere, they lost all their leadership. Who was this game changer that came out of nowhere?
Samsung and Apple.
Samsung and iPhone. Right? So that's a typical example of unexpected sources of competition. So brands always have to be on the alert and be consistently innovating and listening to their customers if they want to maintain their unique positions. Again, disintermediation and reintermediation are becoming challenges for branding because it means that through disintermediation, intermediaries are being cut out such that brands now have to deal directly with consumers. And given the power of consumers and how they are able to communicate about brands and share information about brands, disintermediation is posing a significant challenge because a lot of firms are not able to directly handle consumers. Hence, the importance of re-intermediation, where we have new intermediaries that are making it easier for brands to manage their image and consumer perceptions about them using specific kinds of intermediaries, like influencers, for example, isn't it? Some brands were very obscure. They were not even well known. However, as soon as an influencer picks up the brand and begins to talk about it and begins to rave about it and review it, all of a sudden they become popular. And based on the reputation that the influencer has, they are able to influence consumer perceptions about these brands. Again, there are several sources of information about product quality and brand quality online. Remember earlier we talked about the consumer review sites where consumers could get all manner of information about product quality, which again poses a branding challenge, such that brands have to make sure that information is put out there accurately about the quality of their products. And this is where some of them will use re-intermediation in the form of influencers and other independent reviewers to review their products and post information regarding the quality of their products online for other consumers to access. Again, a significant challenge to branding is winner-takes-all markets, where we have markets in which there are specific market leaders who consistently innovate and therefore are making it difficult for other brands in the same sector and industry to also thrive. A typical example is Ghana's telecommunication industry. Would you agree?
Yes, please.
Yeah, MTN as a brand is miles ahead of their competitors. And it became so bad that the competitors were not able to keep up and government had to intervene to try to take away some of MTN's monopoly in the market. That's a typical example of winner takes all, which is a significant challenge for some brands in the sector and an opportunity for others. In this case, MTN had all the opportunities and they have not wasted a single one, given that they are still the market leaders in the telecommunication sector. We can also talk about media transformation. Like we mentioned earlier, technology is transforming everything. And with the tools that technology affords customers, it puts a lot of power into their hands, which gives them the ability to influence the fate of brands. At the same time, it gives brands also a lot of power to influence customer perceptions about them, as well as influence the kind of experiences they provide for customers to keep them at the top of customers' minds. And finally, we can talk about the importance of customer centricity, because we said that the brand resides in the minds of who?
The customer.
The customer.
So if customer centricity is not at the core of your branding strategy, then you're already digging a deep hole that you're going to push yourself into. Because without the customer forming a particular perception and association to your brand, which will keep them coming back to purchase your brand, there is no way you can guarantee demand for your brand once you put it out there. And with that, we've come to the end of today's session. regarding the opening perspectives on brands and brand management.